Rama asked, what are these Siddhars, the perfected ones, Satyas, celestials, Yama, death, Brahma, creator, Vidyadharas and Devaukasas, and their own worlds. Vidyadharas and Devaukasas are two types of celestial. So Ram is asking about various incredible beings. We've just in the recent chapters had the questions of King Prajapati, and I suggested that this fits in with one of the aims of the Yoga Vasishta, which is to bring everything, all aspects of Hinduism within the scope of self-enquiry. And so the king was asking some very basic questions about the working of boons and curses, and the working of intense contemplation, which is used to bring about a certain set of conditions, what we call prayer. What happens if two people pray for the same thing? So there are various contradictions in the prevailing belief system which the king was wanting resolved, and Vasishta did this by bringing it all within the context once again of self-enquiry. And so we seem to have another loose end here. This is to do with supernatural beings. And I think there's another aspect to it, because Ram is asking this question just as we would ask. We have this great mythology of perfected sages, of the creator God, of the God of death, of divine or heavenly beings, what we might call angels actually, angels and demons and so on, and the worlds that they inhabit. Ram has touched on this before. Sages are supposed to have miraculous powers. They're supposed to be able to fly through the air. But some time back Ram asked why this isn't observed. Why do we not actually see these supernatural beings? Why do we not see perfected sages exhibiting miraculous powers? I remember once when I was a spiritual seeker, and I went off to India to see Satya Sai Baba. I'd read about his amazing miracles. And so when you go there, you're expecting to see these wonders. You see a few little things going on. But surely if he was the cosmic avatar, the supreme cosmic avatar which he was supposed to be, why is he even walking on the ground? Why isn't he at least hovering? Come on, the supreme cosmic avatar isn't going to be bound by such a thing as gravity. Of course they find all sorts of excuses for that, but never mind that. The point is, where are these wonder-working yogis and miracle-working saints? The suspicion is it's often in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Vasishta said, every night and every day in front of you, behind you and above you, you see the worlds of these Siddhas and not others. You see them if you wish to see them, and you do not see them otherwise. In other words, if you're inclined to see them, this is what you'll experience. If one does not practice the art of seeing them, they appear to be far away. These worlds too are subtle and supersensual, or supernatural, and the whole space is full of them. Now we mustn't fall into the rather disdainful trap of just dismissing these things. And there's one other thing we should bear in mind. The power of the ancient imagination. I think there's evidence to show that the imagination and memory abilities of our ancestors dwarf our own. Whatever we have now in the sense of modern understanding, there are certain things, certain capacities in which we are diminished, and notably memory and imagination. The memory of the ancients, of many cultures of East and West, was far more developed than our own. We have the memory palaces of the Jesuits, by which they used their imagination to remember. Actually, I don't actually know what they used it to remember. Maybe it was points of doctrine, and Christian doctrine got very convoluted. And then there was the memorizing of the epics, and we have Muslims even nowadays who can memorize the whole Quran. We have the Brahmin priests who memorize the Vedas. Tremendous feats of memory. But also a lot of so-called meditation exercises are what we'd call visualization practices. This is what I mean by imagination, is the ability to visualize. A lot of sadhana practices are visualization practices. You get this particularly in the Tibetan tradition. They perform extremely ornate and detailed visualizations. And this isn't just entertaining an image. It's involving yourself with this image in a deeply emotional sense. So much so that that image becomes real. It becomes real for you. And as I say, we shouldn't treat this with disdain or contempt and say, well, it's obviously not real, because we've got some impoverished notion of reality based on matter, based on the notion of matter. It impoverishes our inner world to take such an attitude. The imagination, our ability to visualize, is the most wonderful thing. Although we don't admit it, we know that that is our reality. These are the things which move us, our imagination, our ability to get involved in stories, whether it's in the form of drama and poetry, music. These are the things which move us. Not mathematics, unless you're a mathematician, or physics, or stories about this cold, neutral, uncaring world out there. What an impoverished story to put your faith in. So yes, William Blake, Emanuel Swedenborg were not exceptions. They entered into their imagination. It's an enriching experience. We shouldn't dismiss it or be disdainful about it. It's a way of connecting with what is. It's a way of shaping our own reality. You shape your reality by the stories that you choose to adhere to. And everything is a story. Everything is a notion. So let's go for the greatest, most wonderful stories that we can imagine.